In order to create an environment where I know what a $100 million CEO looks like, it's important to seek out people who are in the $100 to $200 million range in the companies. And that's hard to find. It's not like there's a phone book or you can Google those people, but you want to look around for it. But then on top of that, you also have to make sure that they have the fruit in the other areas of your life that you're looking for. One of the things that I find is I can find people who make significantly more than $100 million, let's say $500 million a year for their company, but their personal life is a disaster. And I've always spoken that the number one most important decision you ever make is your faith. Number two is the relationship you choose to enter into with your spouse, right? And then your kids, of course, are shortly after that. Then we can start talking about money. Because if you don't have your faith straight, you don't have your spouse straight, you don't have a good relationship with your kids, and by the way, now I add health in there, my health isn't good. If any of those things are not met, it does not matter how much money you make, you will be miserable. If you don't have kids that respect you and listen to you and love, I train my twin 7-year-old girls. When I come home, they run to give me a hug. I started saying, when I came in when they were 4, I'd be like, run and give daddy a hug. And they just started doing it. Now that they're 7, they make a game of it, that they can run as fast as they can to give me a hug. And it's the cutest thing because that creates a relationship where you're really excited to see somebody. And I have to get in a mindset to see them. So when I'm coming home, the first thing I'm thinking is my kid's going to run and hug me. I can't be pissed off about work. I can't be upset about how the day went. So I'm intentional about that. So going down the rankings again, so how do you find the vision for the 100 million? There are some things that even if a guy who has a company that makes 100 or 200 or 500 million, there are some things in their lifestyle that I will not choose to emulate. I want to choose my own thing because why not have kids run to give you a hug? In fact, when people come over to my house and they see this, they actually say, wow, I wish my kids would do that. And you got to tell your kids to do that in a way that's not like, you need to go and give me a hug. Make it a game and make it exciting when you come home and be really excited whenever they give you the hug. And all of a sudden, you will be blessed that every day you come home, your kids give you a hug. The other day, my daughter went to her senior prom and all these things stack on top of each other. I stayed up to make sure she got home. I didn't go to bed until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, which is very late for me, but I wanted to make sure that I was there to greet her when she came home, make sure everything was okay. She got to bed and I went to bed and I fell asleep, and I usually get up about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. This time I was going to sleep in, but at 6:30, one of my twins came in. She woke me up, so I got about 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and she said, Daddy, I want to watch the sunrise with you. I could have said no, but I'm going to say, you know what, I can take a nap later today. Let me go watch the sunrise with my daughter. And we did that, and it was precious. And making those times and making sure those memories are there. Because I can tell you, man, if I'm making $100 million a year, but my kid doesn't care about me, you're only as happy as your most miserable kid, first of all. And second of all, if you don't have a good relationship with people, it's not worth it. Look for people who you want to emulate in certain areas. And maybe you take the health issue, or maybe you take the relationship issue. You don't always get that from somebody who has a revenue. But then you find the guy who's got the $100 million a year company, and what is it you're doing at your office? How many meetings are you having a week? How are you managing conflict? How are you giving feedback conversations to people and getting people to reach their best? Is this a company you built yourself as an entrepreneur, or is this a company you took over? Would you have a business background? All those sort of questions. So when I meet somebody who's at that level, I ask those kinds of questions and try and get as much information as I can and hopefully enlist them as a mentor. And I'm also mentoring people who are not at that level so they can hopefully get to this level, because I make a lot of mistakes and hopefully I can help them avoid making mistakes. It's like, what are some of the biggest mistakes you made, Mr. $100 million a year CEO? How do you mess that up? How do you get out of it? How do you manage crisis? Crisis is an opportunity for success. It really is. That's another mindset shift, right? This morning I got my tax bill, and that was painful, and it was also wrong. And I'm literally recording an hour after I got news that I was $7 or $8 million short, and that was incredibly frustrating for me. So if somebody calls you up and says you owe $7 million, I guarantee everybody who's watching this right now is going to say, you're going to have a bad day. And what did I say? I said, that can't possibly be right because I know my numbers. And so there's a mistake, and it's in this one area. And it turned out it wasn't in that area, but the accountant had not closed the books for the year before, so they actually had doubled the income, and they didn't properly apply all the tax credits that we had. And so I prayed. I said, God, this is all up to you. And within an hour, we found our mistake. And it was a number that I knew what it was going to be. But I could be having an awfully bad day right now if I was thinking, what the F went wrong, and how did they all fail me? But I shifted my mindset immediately. Now my mindset is, how did they make that mistake? Because that's something I'm still going to have to give them feedback on. I'm going to have to say, listen, you dropped the ball here and it could have been really catastrophic for my whole day or week or month. Or if I didn't challenge you, then maybe we would have overpaid, and then getting that money back from the government is impossible. Almost impossible. I get a credit for next year. How are you managing your mindset? And all of that comes from who you're associating with, overcoming problems of the past. I've overcome smaller problems, you have bigger problems, and then staying focused, asking yourself the question, what does the person I want to be, what do they really look like? And this then feeds into the visualization stuff. So many self-help people are talking about visualization. But I think you take the visualization back a step. It's not like you get a vision of what your success looks like. You just ask yourself the question, what does it look like? And that will always reframe your vision of what a success is. And that was one of the big changes I made. Because I had a vision board with pictures of houses and all that other stuff. But until I started asking myself the question, how do I get there? What does that look like? Who are those people? And what is a fully balanced person who's spiritually, family, fitness, faith, what does that look like? Ask all those questions. That's when it really started happening for me. How do I provide that service? How do I provide $100 million worth of service? I know how I do it, and I know the answer to the question, so that's by focusing on working that solution out. I'm going to ask two questions right now. Number one, what do you think your biggest challenge is and your biggest barrier to success, or the level of what you set for your goals? And number two, what really is your biggest problem? Because one of the big problems that we have as business leaders is that the problem that we always fixate on is not always the biggest problem we're dealing with. We sometimes will fixate on the problem that's most interesting, but we'll ignore the biggest problem that is actually the barrier to our success. So comment below, what is the biggest challenge you think you're dealing with? What's your real biggest challenge? And maybe we can come together to find a solution for that through this session or through a direct message. So feel free to message me. What do you think your biggest challenge is? And what is your actual biggest barrier to success?
If you want to work with someone who's already been through there, give me a call, follow me on Instagram. We have plenty of content that will help you grow your business, and we look forward to seeing you at the top.